So it is today the 18th anniversary of 9/11. It's incredible. It has actually been more than half of my life has been lived after 9/11 than before 9/11, which is incredible. It's also incredible just how fast time passes. And with each passing year since 9/11, since the program has existed, I have been increasingly unsure, I guess I would say, or kind of just ambivalent about what should we be doing? Should we just be doing the same thing every 9/11 anniversary, more or less? I don't know. It's actually been a few years since we've even talked about it because for the last several anniversaries, I just didn't really have anything new to add. So what I want to think about today is I will retell the story of where I was on 9/11, which I remember vividly, although behavioral economists and others would say my memory of this has deteriorated over the years and it is no longer accurate. But you can go back and check, contrast with the first time I told the story. And then I also want to talk about the sort of legacy of 9/11 as I now see it. So on the morning of 9/11, I was in high school. And I was sitting in psychology class with a teacher of mine who I really liked, Donald Palmisano, who sadly is no longer with us. He actually passed away not that long ago. And I got the chance to see him out in Western Massachusetts at an event a few years ago. And I remember his wife actually came up to me, having heard my description of my 9/11 morning, and said, you know, when I heard you tell that story, I asked him, do you think it really went down that way? And he said, I don't remember, but it sounds sort of like how it would go down. So I was sitting in psychology class and a student who was sort of a regular troublemaker, whose name I forgot. I think his name might have been Eric. And it's amazing that the student's name I've forgotten. He was always out of his seat and always walking around in the halls. He had gone to the bathroom and he came back into the room agitated and interrupted psychology class and said to Mr. Palmisano, "We're under attack. It's happening in New York. Things are crazy, more or less, just saying we're under attack. The country's under attack." And Mr. Palmisano looked at him in the context of this is a guy who's always interrupting class and sort of a troublemaker and not particularly well behaved, and just didn't believe it and said, "You know what? I'm sure everything's fine. Please just sit down." And of course, we later found out that it was true. And I don't think that there was early dismissal, but I certainly went home and was just watching TV the rest of the day. And the following day, Mr. Palmisano actually apologized to the student and said, "You know what? You were right. I apologize for how I reacted, and it's horrible what's happened." And we just had a conversation in psychology class about what had gone on. Since then, with each passing year, in some senses, our perspective on what took place changes and evolves, partially just because when things are less recent, our point of view is altered. I don't think any of us can control this. Also, partially because we know more about what the legacy has been. And for me, unfortunately, the legacy of 9/11 in the United States has been pretty bad. We started a war in the wrong place as a result of 9/11 against people who didn't do the thing that we claimed was the reason for starting the war. We have seen pervasive, persistent, and also ineffective privacy invasions as a result of 9/11 under the guise of national security. We've seen the Patriot Act, we've seen NSA surveillance, all of that stuff that we've talked about over the last many years post 9/11 that the David Pakman show has been going on. We have become really accustomed to the persistent state of the global war on terror, the permanent war status quo of we're always somewhere. For many years, it's been Afghanistan, a presence in Iraq that never seems to end, other potential engagements, all sort of under this post 9/11 mentality of we've got to make sure that people out there who want to harm us aren't able to do it and that we're projecting strength and all of this stuff. One of the elements of the legacy of 9/11, sort of the high points, not in terms of them being morally good or bad, but just notable, was the Obama administration capture of Osama bin Laden. And then, of course, subsequently, everything we learned about the lead up to that and the people that were involved. We've seen a legacy of continued ignorance, and it's really more than ignorance. It's really more of a deliberate kind of burying our heads in the sand, many of us, about what creates radicalism through foreign policy. And this is not, very often when we talk about foreign policy creating radicals who want to attack the United States, it becomes a very sort of Manichaean white-black thing of, listen, either people are responsible for choosing to attack the United States, or you're saying that they lack all responsibility and it's just the fault of the U.S. through foreign policy for radicalizing people. And of course, the answer is no. That's not the black and white scenario that anyone who's thoughtful is trying to lay out. One of the things we've hopefully learned over the 18 years since 9/11 is that radicalization, both domestically and geopolitically, whether we're talking about white supremacy or Islamic extremism or whatever the case may be, is a combination of circumstances domestically, which are influenced by the foreign policies of superpowers like the United States, combined with the particular predispositions and circumstances of individuals. All of the white supremacists and former white supremacists I've interviewed on the show have told a very consistent story about how they know who is sort of ripe for radicalization and indoctrination. And in the same way, when we talk about Al-Qaeda or ISIS or whatever, we're not excusing the actions of individuals when we say we should consider the role that the relationships between countries and American foreign policy have on creating an environment ripe for radicalization, while understanding that millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions, billions of people on the planet are not apt to be radicalized, regardless of foreign policy. These things are not black and white. And hopefully, if there's a positive legacy from 9/11, and I know that for a lot of people, this just doesn't work, but hopefully the more thinking people are aware of this stuff. Hopefully one of the positive legacies of 9/11, if there's anything to find in it, is that we have sort of deepened our understanding of the interaction between personal circumstances, personal responsibility, and geopolitical status quo in creating radicalization around the world. We also have seen continued neoconservative war hawking on a lot of the right and even on some of the left as a result of 9/11, in terms of even justifying attempted or would-be engagements in other parts of the world over the last 18 years. Airport security and the establishment of the TSA, of course, a major legacy of 9/11, and unfortunately, not one of the best ones. TSA failing to identify banned items in almost 95% of internal self-tests, drills, so to speak, of their security processes. So sadly, it is mostly negative. There was, if we want to find something that was sort of good that happened after 9/11, that of course doesn't outweigh any of the bad, there was actually a short-lived positive sort of sense of unity in the United States where hyperpartisanship was mitigated a little bit. And it was about coming together as a country and helping people in New York City and in Washington, D.C., and all of the people affected by 9/11. And it didn't last long. And it's not surprising that it was these sort of black swan type events, to take a term from Nassim Taleb, who has written about such events, that really kind of shook up the status quo. It didn't last very long. And of course, then the administration of George W. Bush choosing to retaliate to 9/11 by going into Iraq, which had nothing to do with it, did not help at all. My question to you, how should we be remembering 9/11 as we get closer and closer to 20 years out from the event, which is just incredible that almost 20 years have gone by? And what do you see as the legacy of 9/11 on geopolitics, on United States foreign policy, domestic issues, and the status quo? I want to hear from you.